Welcome, everybody. Thank you for your patience. We're waiting. We'll provide a little bit of time here for everybody to roll into this meeting, and I'm looking forward to getting it underway. So we'll begin here in just about a minute or so and give that some time. So thank you again for joining us. See, I'm trying to, is the PowerPoint showing?
Yes.
Okay, we'll go into slideshow mode. There we go.
Perfect.
Well, time is of the essence here, so I think we'll get going. I want to welcome everybody again for taking time to visit with us and provide your input on this exciting and important new program that we're proud at NIFA to have the chance to be able to get this rolling and implement it in time with your guidance and with your input. My name is Kevin Kephart, and I'm here to lead us in this conversation here this afternoon, or to be a participant with you as well. I want to make some introductions of folks that you'll be hearing from and interacting with here this afternoon. First of all, Deb Hammernick. Deb is the Deputy Director of the Institute for Food Production and Sustainability, and she wears two hats. Deb is also the Director of the Animal Systems Division within that institute. And she's with us here this afternoon. Again, I'm Kevin Kephart. I'm the Director of the Agricultural Systems Division at NIFA. And we also have John Erickson. John is the Acting Director of the Plant Systems Production Division within IFPS. And then Joe Muniazena is the Acting Director of Plant Systems Protection. And Joe is on detail with us from ARS. So it's good to have you on board with us right now, Joe. Behind the scenes, we've had a great team of people that have been helping us get the Farm of the Future program up to this point. They include Bill Hoffman. Bill is our Chief of Staff in NIFA. He's on the screen here with us. And we also have Brad Ryan, National Science Liaison with Ag Systems based in Washington, D.C. Couple of really good program specialists. We have Katie Densman with Ag Systems and Catherine Bonnert with Plant Systems. And then a really great team of experts in areas relevant to what the Farm of the Future could be about, including Steve Thompson with Ag Systems, Ganesh Bora with Ag Systems, Robin Shoemaker, Ag Systems, Andres Shiblis is with Animal Systems, Ann Stapleton, Plant Systems Production, Vijay Nadula with Plant Systems Protection, and then Hongda Chen with Food Safety. So with that introduction, I'm going to hand it over to John Erickson, and he'll go over the full gambit of what we know right now about the Farm of the Future program. John.
Thanks, Kevin. As you can see, it probably won't take very long. I'd like to also welcome everyone and just point out what we know now, and the extent of what we know is on the Farm of the Future comes from this authorizing language of Section 799 of the 2021 Omnibus Appropriations Bill, and that states for an additional amount for National Institute of Food and Agriculture Research and Education Activities, $4 million to remain available until September 30th, 2022 for a competitive grant to an institution in the land-grant university system to establish a Farm of the Future test bed and demonstration site.
Okay, so thank you. So we have resources and guidance from Congress to make one award to a land grant institution. and it will be to support development of a test bed and demonstration site. So that's what we have. Okay, I'll hand it over to Joe Munyaneza right now, and Joe will cover some of the other details, including this listening session, but some other things as well. So Joe, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Kevin. So Joe Munyaneza here again. I'm serving as Acting Director for the Plant Protection Division. My day job, I'm with USDA ARS. This listening session is an opportunity for stakeholders and customers to provide input to assist NIFA in developing an RFA. Participants may speak for up to 3 minutes each. Written comments can be sent to the following email address: nifa.farmofthefuture@usda.gov. Comment will be taken until the end of the month. Next slide, Kevin. Again, the intent of this session is for input and guidance. This is not a Q&A session. Many ideas come to mind when it comes to Farm of the Future, including these on the slide. We need to hear from you. We need your priority ideas to help guide the development of a successful RFA for this new program. Thank you. Back to Kevin for more details.
Okay, thank you, Joe. So our process that we have to go through to get this moving along is depicted here. We've heard from Congress what our authorization is and the amount of the appropriation. So we have those two aspects covered in this effort. So right now, the next step that we need to do is what we're doing right now, and that's to get stakeholder input during the month of May. So that's to give us guidance, to hear from you on what your interest is, to help us develop the next step. Our next step is to actually draft a request for applications, an RFA. That hasn't happened yet because we need to hear from you first. And that's why this is really an input session and not a Q&A session. Everything we know so far about Farm of the Future is largely in the authorization and appropriation information that we provided a few slides ago. So now after we have that information and what we hear from you, and throughout the month of May through written comments, we'll put all that together and draft a request for applications that after it goes through policy review and make sure that it follows NIFA's rules, we'll eventually publish that and make that available to you, make that available to the public, and request those applications. Afterwards, after the deadline date has been met, which we don't know what that is yet, but when the deadline date's been met, we'll convene a review panel of peers and review those applications, and then eventually we'll decide upon an award from all of that input. So that's the process that we have ahead of us, and the arrow indicates where we are today. So here's some things on how we'd like to conduct this listening session. It's an opportunity to hear from you, hear from stakeholders, and provide assistance to us as we develop the request for applications. There's a lot of folks that are on here. 47 people have indicated that they'd like to have time to provide verbal comment. And if we limit things to 3 minutes or less, we might be able to get through all of those, but that 47 represents more than more people than what we can allow in this time frame that we have. So we'll see how it goes, and we'll do our best to get everybody included. So comments will begin with registrants that have indicated they wish to speak, and we have a list of them. NIFA staff will keep track of the time, and if we're significantly going over that 3-minute threshold, we'll let you know, and we'll have to move on to the next person. Again, the input, the intent here is to provide guidance to us and get your chance to say what we need to hear in that regard. And the session is open until 4 o'clock Central Daylight Time. So that's how long we have this Zoom channel. Now, if we miss out on you on verbal content, or if you want to say something longer than will be allowed in a 3-minute statement, you always have the opportunity to provide us a written statement and send it to this email, NIFA Farm of the Future @usda.gov. And that's been on the bottom of every one of these slides that we've been presenting as well. So with that, I'll just, I think I'll stop sharing now. And Deb, who is our first speaker? And I want to point out that I know that we have several producers. I'm really excited about hearing from the producers on what their comments are going to be. So Deb, who's our first one?
Thank you, Kevin. And our first speaker today is Archie Clutter from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. Archie, please go ahead. You have 3 minutes. Can you unmute yourself, Archie?
There we go.
Perfect.
You muted yourself again.
You're still on mute, Archie.
There we go.
There we go. Thanks. Thanks again for just brief comments. The demands on the farm of the future will be enormous and unprecedented to deliver nourishment to a growing global population in the face of increasingly volatile climate conditions and fluctuations. The farm of the future that meets those demands can't operate with the practices of the past. We need research and science-driven tools for more effective, real-time operational decision-making on the farm of the future. Tools necessary for climate-smart stewardship of land, water, other natural resources, necessary for profitable, sustainable agricultural production. The Farm of the Future program can help develop, test, and deliver those tools. The integrated research necessary must be seamlessly transdisciplinary and execute holistic systems-based plans that incorporate effective connections of ideas and discoveries to prototypes and field validation to create scalable tools and solutions. And for that continuum to work effectively, the field validation must access and leverage a diversity of test beds and proving grounds, including through partnerships with producers and other stakeholders. Those partnerships with stakeholders will help ensure the value of the outcomes, and along with effective integration at all levels of extension, enhance technology delivery and adoption. And then those types of plans will also provide tremendous opportunities for integration with teaching and learning across levels of education to achieve science literacy and the cutting edge workforce development that's so essential for the future of agriculture. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Archie. That was 2 minutes. Great job.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Craig Uden, and then following Craig will be Barbara Cooksley. Craig, are you online? Craig, are you on mute? Okay, we'll come back to Craig. I don't see him popping up here. There he is. Craig, you're on mute, I believe. Thank you.
How to get on there. I'm Craig Uden, owner and operator of Dar Feedlot Incorporated and a cow-calf producer in central Nebraska. And one thing I'm looking at this smart farm of the future is even more important today than ever. As we come out of this pandemic, the ever-changing landscape of agriculture due to the global demand and COVID-driven challenges. And one thing the smart farm needs to represent, and it's been a buzzword, is becoming reality, and that is sustainability. And as I look at sustainability, I think it's very important that we have to put all this in perspective. Sustainability, in my mind, is continuous improvement through continuous education and implementation of new technologies and systems. And we have to look at the whole system, whether we're looking at precision livestock, precision cropping, natural resources, water use is going to be a big challenge. But those systems need to provide an economic benefit to the producer, and they need to be socially acceptable to the end consumer. And I think that's very valid today as we see all the challenges out there, including the consumer. As we look at the smart farm, we are very much including technology and changes of systems in our programs. We're looking at different challenges to our handling equipment. We look at things like smart tags that identify sickness, and we think that those can be used for ration management in our programs. Consumption and ration changes. Looking at smart technology as far as feeding, whether it be the mixing or the automated truck for delivery of feed, because we need to continue to work on transparency all the way through our systems to have that cohesiveness between production and consumption. Another thing as far as on the water and natural resources in the feeding sector would be collection of wastewater, which we do today, and the use of that on growing crops, and then the harvesting of those crops, such as silage production or taking that crop off and then putting cover crops off for additional nitrogen utilization and erosion management. But the overall thing is we need to continue to keep moving ahead and bring all aspects of agriculture together, because smart farming practices need to be simplified for producers so that there is an acceptance and a rapid adaptation to of these changes. We've seen a lot of things that are grand ideas, but if we cannot put those things into place, then we find challenges, great ideas not being implemented in a timely fashion. And it seems like today, in all aspects, that the industry changes rapidly and it halves itself every time. So I appreciate the time to let me speak before you today, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Craig. The next speaker is Barb Cooksley, followed by Rorik Paulman. Barb? Barb, you're on mute. Barb, there you go.
Am I on?
You're up. You're good.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Barbara Cooksley. I'm a rancher from Anselmo, Nebraska. I'm an alumnus of the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, our state's land-grant university. My family uses the university's extension and research services for timely answers to land and animal husbandry questions for our family ranch of 800 beef cattle on 16,000 acres in the Nebraska Sandhills, which is a unique ecosystem covering 1/4 of the state. My husband and I are the 4th generation on this land, and we live and ranch with the 5th and 6th generations. We use the native sandhill grasses for grazing cattle, sustaining native populations of flora and fauna, as well as protecting the ground and surface water, as we are also over the Ogallala Aquifer, one of the world's largest groundwater sources. We strive for continuous improvement of our management through innovative and proven tools for our decision-making. We are currently completing a conservation program using many of the tools proven by research. We need to continue to have this type of forward-thinking research, extension, and teaching for the decisions we make now and to lead our decisions in the future. Past research has given us expected progeny difference, or EPDs, for livestock selection, flexible grazing programs to address drought, and historical short and long-term weather information for our management decisions. In the future, we must have research to show the positive climate impacts that cattle grazing has on the soil, water, and air. We need even more information about the breeding and selection of our cattle, more genomic testing to fit our specific program, and quality assurance programs for our consumers. The Farm of the Future Competitive Grant is a forward-looking opportunity to build stronger partnerships between producers like us, land-grant universities, and the USDA to address these issues impacting our daily ranch decisions. Thank you.
Thanks, Barb. The next speaker is Rorik Paulman, followed by John Schuler. Rorik, are you online?
I do not see Rorik or John online. If either of them are, please speak up. But I don't see them in the list of attendees.
Okay, we can come back to them later. Thanks, Katie. Let's go to Elizabeth Stulberg. Elizabeth, are you on board? There she is. You're on mute, Elizabeth.
Hi there. I was not expecting to speak. I'm listening only today.
Okay, thanks, Elizabeth. Sorry for the confusion. Let's go to L.W. Lockie Jr. L.W. Lockley, followed by Dennis Buckmaster. L.W. Lockley.
Yeah, I don't see him either. It looks like we also have Lee Van Wychen on my list.
Yeah. Is Lee on board? Lee Van
Yes,
Wychen?
he is.
There he is.
Yeah, hi there.
Thank you. You have 3 minutes to speak, please.
All right, thank you. My name is Lee Van Wychen. I'm the Director of Science Policy for the Weed Science Society of America. And unfortunately, the farm of the future is most likely to have weeds and probably herbicide-resistant weeds. So a few things. Of course, we want to see the farm of the future focus on integrated pest management techniques and the mechanical, chemical, cultural, biological control that's tried and true formula for keeping weeds off balance. But within there, there's a couple emerging technologies. One is weed genomics and using the genomics of some of our worst weeds like Palmer amaranth and water hemp against itself, creating a male sterile genotypes. That's a possibility. So we thank NIFA for funding a weed genomics conference this fall. So that's a good start there. And then, but the technology that I really want to focus on is precision technologies for our farm of the future, where we can look at weed management using intelligent weeding systems that combine, real-time, reliable discrimination of between the weeds and the crop under field conditions, and then using precision removal tools, a spot spray of a herbicide or a mechanical removal or other alternative weed control tools such as lasers or electrocution or flames. I mean, there's a lot of different ways. So we'd really like to see the farm of the future focus on that precision technologies. And I know there's a start with the Artificial Intelligence Institute. So that's a great start there. And those AI technologies, I mean, we reduced input costs. They can reduce the risks associated with herbicide off-target movement. We can reduce soil erosion and runoff. And also we improve our soil carbon sequestration. So there's a lot of additional benefits by being more specific with our weed management. And it also will help us manage herbicide resistant weeds, and even in organic production systems gives us another tool there. So that's where we hope the farms of the future will focus on weeds. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Looks like Dennis Buckmaster is next, followed by Thomas Evans.
Okay, thank you very much this is Dennis. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share today. Really do appreciate it. I am a professor of Ag and Biological Engineering at Purdue University, serve as a Dean's Fellow for Digital Ag. So my comments about a test bed would be, as we've addressed in some recent conferences, that agriculture now is really agriculture plus other things, which to some are naturally part of agriculture, but it's extending and becoming more important. Sustainability, identity preservation, water quality, marketing, and sort of the list goes on. And most of those things are sort of data driven. Agriculture at its core is logistics. It's the right seed, the right animal, the right person, machine, chemical, water, other things at the right place at the right time. And that optimizing involves complex interactions of inventories, machinery, personnel, and technologies. So I think the farm of the future is going to integrate both data and models, data sets, of course, but also data streams. And so that will require multiple modes of connectivity. Things like Wi-Fi, TV white space, citizens band radio service, LoRa, cellular, the diversity, because real-time systems need to be tested, even though some of that data may not need to move in real time, some of it will. So my dream of that farm of the future test bed will have compatible systems, or at least the ability to integrate siloed technology and data systems. Our dream is of interoperable data, essentially autonomous data that just lands where it needs to land and lends the insight that it ought to lend. So that requires a tremendous amount of and thorough networking, politicking, frankly, to make sure that the best advancements are moved forward appropriately with the right industry players and farmer stakeholders, et cetera. We'll need some artificial intelligence and machine learning, both in the decision-making itself, but also in the data pipeline and the analytics. There's room to apply those things. Stakeholder engagement was previously mentioned. I certainly echo that. There is a need for demonstrations for sure. I think that culture of innovation and demonstration is a part of land grants, so hopefully that's covered really well. And just two parting thoughts. One is, of course, the farm of the future needs to accommodate a diversity of crops and livestock. And probably there's no one single land grant that's going to cover all of that. But the more of that that we can capture, the better, of course. And then I believe the farm of the future is going to involve autonomous things. So some expertise in autonomy near and around and available to that test bed is going to be important. So again, I appreciate the opportunity to chat, and I'm enjoying listening as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dennis. Appreciate your comments. I think Thomas Evans and Andrew Abano are not here. So we'll go to Amy Hamilton. Amy, are you here? Thank you. And you might be on mute, Amy. There you go.
Yes. Yes, I'm Amy Hamilton from the rugged Ozark Highlands of Missouri. I'm a native grass and wildflower seed producer for over 35 years. Our business, Hamilton Native Outpost, received a Conservation Innovation Grant in 2011, and we planted 99 species of native diversity for the purpose of grazing and learning about native plants, and as well as all the ecosystem benefits that these plants can provide. When NRCS started their soil health movement, I began to learn about these native plants in another way and how they can fix the soil. NRCS principles of soil health have opened my eyes about how plants work together to maximize photosynthesis, provide cover for wildlife, cover the soil, and provide adequate food for cattle year long. Tall fescue is the major forage in our area. It is not native, and it has been discovered that it's actually toxic to our cattle, and it causes the cattle to perform poorly. The cattle can abort. It's actually a $200 million problem here in the state of Missouri. We also have a lot of invasive species coming into our country, and it's just a lot for farmers to deal with. Basically, agriculture is not working out very well here. Could it be that we don't have enough diversity in our degraded pastures for soil health? Yes, our weeds are not palatable to livestock, and they get a full foothold on land that is actually not being grazed because they are able, this combination of plants is able to make organic matter. This increases water infiltration and symbiotically actually helps make for healthy soils. We can train our cattle to eat some of these invasive plants. We can get goats, but what about our pollinators? What about our insects? What about our wildlife that depend on these native species? My farm is in the middle of the Operation Strike Force area, and it has been historically underserved. And I can see that the science of simple monocultures of agriculture is not working out very well because our soils just are not functioning properly. Flooding and stream bank erosion are a big problem because we do not understand diversity and the right plants in the right place. Most of the endangered species in our area are in the streams. EQIP and state farm programs focus on livestock water and management fencing, which is good, but plants are part of the solution. Healthy soils can actually help repel invasives and hold our streams. I really actually always wanted to be a cowboy, but ended up a plant nerd and would like to serve grassland agriculture in the Operation Strike Force area. In Missouri, we seem to have plenty of money to plant monarch habitat for the Conservation Reserve Program, but we do not have money to plant diverse natives for grazing. So I would like to see if I could help with that. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Amy. Next speaker is Girish Chowdhary, followed by Chuck Ross, followed by Robert Kallenbach. Girish, you're next, please.
Hi, thank you. This is Girish Chowdhary. I'm a professor of Ag and Bioengineering and Computer Science at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. I am also the Associate Director of the National AI Institute, AI Farms, at University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, along with other institutes. And today I'd like to just lay out a vision based on some of the work that we have been doing and just whatever we've been hearing from people. So we believe that the farm of the future will use affordable AI and autonomous systems to enable sustainable production that is profitable, inclusive, and scale neutral. We know that today, agriculture is faced with not only growing enough food for a growing population, but also providing ecological services. The environmental footprint of agriculture is not where it needs to be. And as shown in Foley's 2011 Nature paper, there is a strong need to bring the production and the environmental cost of that production into balance, eventually, hopefully, to a situation where agriculture is a net carbon negative into the environment. We think that existing tools that are available to farmers need to be augmented with new tools that are more affordable and that bring more autonomy and AI to all farmers, not just to very large farmers. We think that affordable AI is at the crux of this issue. With affordable AI, we think that appropriate scale autonomous robots or autonomous systems could be created that could provide services such as mechanical weeding, under canopy cover crop planting, precision see and spray, and many other things that can be accomplished. We think that these types of robots and data systems will enable sustainable and environmentally sound production systems, and that there is a great potential by leveraging new and advancing technologies in batteries and edge analytics and edge AI, that these systems can be run off of renewable energy. So just to bring everything back into focus, we believe that the farm of the future needs to be carbon negative. It needs to require orders of magnitude less chemical inputs than what we're using today in our farms, especially in large acre farming in the Midwest. It needs to provide ecosystem services and not just produce food. For example, it needs to make sure that water quality is improving, it needs to make sure that air quality is improving. It needs to run off of sustainable resources. It needs to be diverse in crops and products. Ideally, it would be able to integrate animals into the production systems, which would further augment that diversity. And it should be profitable at all scales, not just at the large scale, which it is profitable today, but also for the small farmer and for the really micro urban farmer also. These farms of the future should be profitable. It needs to be well connected, and it needs to be accessible to low income and underserved populations. Thank you.
Thank you, Girish. Appreciate your vision there. Thank you. The next speaker is Chuck Ross, followed by Robert Kallenbach.
Hi there. Thanks for the opportunity to speak to you, and congratulations on pursuing this forward-leaning effort. I'm speaking today as the climate catalyst for the Extension Foundation. I also have a background as an extension director for the University of Vermont and secretary for agriculture for the state of Vermont. And one of the things we would want to underscore is the need for society to measure all the goods and services that farmers produce, including their stewardship of the public resources they impact. And that especially pertains to climate, which is going to be, and weather variability, which are going to be critical issues moving forward. We believe that farming and agriculture has an enormous role to play with respect to climate. And we would encourage this effort to engage the extension universe and its ability to reach 3,140 counties with trusted relationships across the country. And if this farm of the future site is going to be engaged, we believe the extension's engagement will help them be able to do better research, spread the education, do better on the job of information sharing through that extension network, and also build partnerships across the country, which is going to be needed if we're going to have a truly fully representative farm of the future. One of the suggestions we would ask you to consider is potentially working with an Extension Foundation and the National Directors of Extension in their organization called ECOP, and consider potentially including a fellow for the future of the farms of the future to engage the extension network to fully operationalize the extension network. Finally, if this is going to be an organization that's going to be looking to the future, we believe it needs to have a continuous education framework as it moves forward. It needs to be able to develop the ability to constantly and consistently measure the goods and services that farms and agriculture produce, including food and fiber, as well as other goods and services that are important to issues like climate. We also believe that if this is going to be a robust effort, there must be a way to engage, help the farming community engage the communities in which they live, so they have that feedback loop and can be seen as the positive contributors that they are, and also be responsive to the concerns the community may have. So again, I'll leave my comments there. But just underscore that the importance of the ubiquity of the extension network, and invite further conversations with the Extension Foundation as a potential partner in developing this kind of service, if you will, to the agriculture across the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Appreciate your comment. The next person to speak is Robert Kallenbach.
Yes. Good afternoon. I'm Rob Kallenbach, and I'm the Associate Dean for Extension in the College of Agriculture, Food and Natural Resources at the University of Missouri. And as we've kind of thought about what is the farm of the future, we come back to this fundamental thing, and that is that technology is really changing how we interact, not only with each other, but how we interact with the environment. In fact, when you think about the smartphone that you have in your pocket right now, it has more computing power than it took to put humans on the moon. And when we think about how we can leverage what technology offers in the future, it's built on the idea that we can connect better than ever. Technology is fundamentally changing not only how we interact, but how we work, how we play, and yes, how we are going to do agriculture. And we see a future in technology that so many have described on here, where you've got drones doing things and autonomous tractors and robots and all sorts of neat technologies that you often see in the plant world. But as others have said, we've got to be able to take those same technologies, and there's a ton of cool ones that also apply to the animal world, whether that's in robotic milking, or whether there's sensors that just tell us the status of animals reproductively or where they are nutritionally. There's tons of opportunity in things like startup companies that are all across this nation that are interested not only in working in agriculture, but working in the interaction of humans and food. And we think the future in technology offers a lot, and yet we know that technology does not always offer the simple solutions. Sometimes the solutions that are offered by technology are complex, and it will be up to this group to figure out how do we train the workforce that's going to be in agriculture that uses that technology. We have people in the workforce in agriculture that range from technology natives, typically the young people, to folks who are not so technology native. How are we going to work with all of those folks to make this really useful to agriculture and really useful in our environment? I'll close with this. When we look at broadband availability across the United States, FCC estimates that more than 65% of all the counties that are in rural America do not have sufficient broadband to work with cloud computing. We're going to have to fix that problem as we bring technology that needs it to agriculture. These have to be done in parallel. And so thinking about how we train, how we develop, and how we invest all needs to be part of one package. And that is how we see the farm in the future.
Thank you, Robert. Really appreciate those comments. Thank you. So I think the next on the list was Craig Broad, but I don't believe Craig is here. Craig Broad. We'll move to Patrick Smith, followed by Laura Michele. Patrick Smith, then Laura Michele.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very glad to have this chance to talk to you all, and I've enjoyed listening to folks. Farming in the future may be mankind's single largest coordinated effort to improve the health of the planet and health of the planet's inhabitants. Future farming will benefit our air, water, and land. Future farms respond to consumer demand, not supply chain preferences. Farms in the future will work with nature to manage pests and soil health. To ensure farmer success and profit for the farms, the food supply chain will work with farmers and consumers for product selection and delivery commitments. Future farming prototypes will show that healthy soil can be built through minimum till practices, compost amendments, use of cover crops, and a diverse assortment of crops. The rigid farming practice today focused primarily on livestock management and nourishment. Future farms will replace current practices to meet these ends with practice that enrich the soil, enrich the farmer, and enrich the consumer. I am a supply chain management information technology expert, having designed and developed and managed systems for the natural food industry for 27 years. I am currently a USDA field enumerator and soil health advocate. In the last 100 years, machines replaced laborers on farms. Chemicals replaced soil health. Agribusiness distributors and retailers replaced the connectivity between urban consumers and farm crop selections. Future farming will see fewer machines, more farm hands employment, more crop varieties, healthier soil, and more nutritious food. Similar to the FDA's Smarter Food Safety Initiative, future farming will embrace standardized means of Future farming will embrace standardized means of information technology interoperability, harmony of data content, elegance in information sharing, and an infrastructure for us all to work together to solve today and tomorrow's environmental and food health crises. I talk to farmers and ranchers most every day. The concerns I hear about weather risks, price and yield uncertainty, skilled labor shortages, overwork, and low profits. Future farming will empower farmers with new tools to manage many of these concerns. Here's what to require of the grant proposals for the USDA's National Institute of Food and Agriculture Farm of the Future Competitive Grant Program. These 7 requirements: methodologies and implementation of practices for building and maintaining biologically healthy soil, cover crop considerations, education, and management options, low-till and no-till options for managing weed control and cash crop plants, crop diversity that is driven by consumer demand, compost programs that comply with the U.S. Composting Council's mission of compost utilization for creating healthy soils, clean air and water, a stable climate, and a sustainable society. Finally, means of connecting with urban food centers, local food hubs, and grocery produce operators. Future farming will embrace the simple solutions of improving soil, crop diversity, and consumer connection. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. We appreciate the list. Thanks again. The next speaker is Laura Michele. Laura? You might be on mute, Laura.
Hello?
There you go. Thank you.
Hi, I'm just listening today, but thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next one is Vincent. Let's see, Vincent Harkiewicz. Vincent, are you ready?
Hi, thank you. My name is Vince Harkiewicz, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Grownetics, an open source data platform for agriculture and farming, with the goal of making open innovation and open data sharing the standard for ag innovation. It's my feeling that in order for the grant to make the greatest possible impact, that it should be designed in a hub and spoke kind of fashion, with where open innovation can be leveraged. The grant awardees or awardee could be the hub to as many partners and volunteer organizations to collaborate on the Farm of the Future project. This could easily be done through existing open innovation focused web forms software that's widely available. This would facilitate a faster iteration cycle than any single institution could accomplish on their own, and would start to drive open innovation as the core methodology through which new technologies and farming systems are tested and implemented. Feedback from the community could also be used to prioritize different projects and theories that the institutions would like to test. Priorities should be on circular and regenerative farming design, modeling of carbon sequestration through agricultural practices, and then lastly, the data should be widely available and from the research projects should be widely available and accessible to anybody looking to leverage it and to use it. The thinking behind this is that right now for artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms to be effective, they need the largest data sets possible for things like pest identification, weed identification, animal husbandry, animal identification, and all these new kind of field of new strategies for supporting innovation in farming. Lastly, another thought is to focus on the repurposing of waste streams. I know that there's a lot of innovation around repurposing agricultural waste, and to bring that to the forefront so that we can start to close the loop on a lot of these, the traditional farming practices. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Vince. Appreciate your comments. So now we will move to Daniel Stricker, and we've put the names in the chat box here for the next few that order, just so you can be a little prepared. We have a lot of no-shows today, so Daniel Stricker followed by Cindy Schulte.
Hello, unmuted.
We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. The whole Zoom thing is still kind of new to me, as with everybody. Well, anyway, so I'm really grateful to be, have a seat at this table right now, and the light of all the hard work that you guys put in to secure these funds, and as well as the acumen of education and business acumen involved with everybody around here. So I'm an artist, and like I said, grateful to be be here and have the affinity towards an agricultural venture. And so I believe that the farm of the future really ultimately should revolve slightly on a social venture and an aspect of reciprocal giving to where farms support one another. And so the new generation of farmer producers are also embraced in a sense of harmony and support through one another and interdependent relationships. That's an aspect of a project that I've been working to put together.
Oh, I think we might have lost him. Looks like he might have had an internet connectivity issue. We can go on. I think Cindy is not here. If Daniel comes back, we'll let him speak again. Mark, I see Mark is here.
Yes, do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I have one fundamental question about farm of the future. Are you talking animals or crops? Are you talking big acre or are you talking suburban or peri-urban? Are you talking family-based or are you talking corporate? And I think that in each one of those areas, new forms of farms will evolve, but there will be not one model. There might be a suburban model based on a sun greenhouse. There may be in the wide open spaces, there might be new models like we see them develop in Central Eurasia. There is the whole thing of what new crops will come out of genetic engineering. How will climate change push crop growing more north? And so having the farm of the future as a goal may be nice, but what we think we also need is what is the problem you're trying to solve? Are you trying to solve the problem of urban and rural people that have lack of access to fresh food? Or do you try to improve the farming practices so we never run into Palmer amaranth again? Are we going to go battery-driven tractors or not? So those are the practical questions I see, and I would like NIFA to be problem-solving oriented in how they define this project, rather than technology and doing an extrapolation on current trends. And please, that is a totally new way of thinking, but that's part of what NIFA is about, isn't it? Thank you.
Great comments. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
We will move on to Mohamed Khan, followed by Doug Metcalf.
All right, can you hear me, Deb?
Yes, thank you.
Hi, my name is Mohamed Khan, Extension Sugar Specialist for North Dakota State University and University of Minnesota. And I would just like to kind of follow up from my colleague there. He just talked about farming coming up north. Welcome to North Dakota. Some other things that we should probably be addressing is, I was kind of thinking, how do I ask my people in authority to kind of say that we're qualified for such a grant? The first thing they'll ask me, am I going to do irrigated agriculture or non-irrigated agriculture? So some parts of the US it's irrigated, some parts it's not. Are we going to focus on those farms at 444 acres, or are those farms like in North Dakota, the average acres is 1,500 acres? It is going to be all crops? Is it going to be all animals? or is it going to be integrated? And one of the things we have seen for our producers is that they're pretty good at producing crops, but they're not very good at making the most profits. Can we probably involve some processing, some value added to the crops so that they can get more returns? I agree with the previous speakers. We got to be looking, are we going to be looking at calorific crops, wheat, rice? Are we going to be looking at beans, maize? Are we going to be looking at specialty crops? And in the future, there are some of us who will have more money than others. And there are some of us who will probably be smarter at advising us as to what are some requirements that we can get in our crops to make us healthier. That is, how can we modify these crops genetically so that they can be more nutritious for us? Right now, we're having COVID, which is a challenging time, but everybody in the world right now needs a vaccine, and most of us will use it. We have been able to develop that vaccine using science. Can we use that momentum of acceptance of science to modify our food world, to get resistance to pests and to diseases, to manage weeds and stuff like that? This is probably one of the best times to use that opportunity. And when we look at the system, we have more or less about 70% water in the world, about 30% land, and of course, all of the land is not useful. In some areas, can we go use vertical farming? Will that be better for the people who are living in cities or in urban areas where you have large populations and more or less food deserts? And when we're looking at the whole system, do we go now, in my area, we need large farms and large machinery equipment because we have a limited amount of time to do the work that we need to do. Can we use science and technology and artificial intelligence to produce smarter, smaller, more efficient technology where we have problems getting labor to do most of the work on the farm? And when we're doing all of this here, we have so much technology now so that we can we improve our soil, improve the soil health so that at the end, everybody benefits. We have a sustainable soil, better environment. Look at things like manure, not as a waste, but as a raw material. How do we use it so that we don't look at meat production as something that is negative? Those are my thoughts for now, Deb.
Oh, thank you, Mohamed. I appreciate your comments there. Thank you. So Doug Metcalf has declined to speak. He's happy to listen. We'll move to Surendra. Surendra might be having some internet or microphone issues. Surendra, I'm not sure if you'd like to speak or not. Surendra? So I think we'll pass and go on to Matthew Gregg. Matthew, are you here? Matthew followed by Pam Marone. Matthew.
Matthew's other.
Unmute, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, hello, how's everybody doing today?
Great, thanks. How are you?
Right. Thank you for your time. I'm going to get straight to it, a little checklist. I want the farmer of the future to have a better network for our communities. If it's going to be locale settings, the better manage our catastrophes, the better our budget plans for the future, cut energy costs. That should be a goal. It should improve the current ecosystem that we currently have. And if we're going to go into the future, right? We want to be able to manage our phases, our yearly reports, nutrient management, our crop protection, crop management. And I say that to say, because I'm a Black farmer and understand that you have different farmers with different needs and every farmer has a different technique. And in order to sustain this, we have a lot of working dynamics, right? So we want this technology to complement the farming techniques, knowing that an average farmer does miss out on 2/3 because they don't have the information, the lack of information, or just don't know what's going on, right? So yeah, in order to make this data driven, knowing that AI technology is going to be a part of it, we have to have the right tool for the right job. And that's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you for participating. Pam Marone, and then I think Lori Elliott is the last one on our list. So Pam and then Lori.
Yes, hi, I'm Pam Marone. I come from Davis, California. I'm a serial entrepreneur, having started 3 companies dedicated to discovery and commercialization of ag biologicals. I now also have, since my retirement from Marone Bioinnovations, I now advise several companies from farm to fork, mostly startups. And I have over my career talked to a lot of farmers every week. And what they are often is befuddled by a lot of the new technology. And we appreciate all the funding that NIFA does, but it's often one topic at a time, or where the Asian citrus psyllid goes in the canopy, or individual projects at the land grants. And what the farmers tell me is that they want systems integrators. They want proficiency of their advisors to be able to help them integrate all the tools and cultural practices, and now an increasing amount of precision technology and data, and also the not so new, but still very low awareness and education and knowledge, both in the land grant extension specialists, as well as with farmers of ag biologicals, microbes, plant extracts, biostimulants, bionutrients, biopesticides, that are the future. And so I ask that any farm of the future have a strong consideration for biointensive, ecologically based approaches of holistic integrated systems on the farm, incorporating all of the new aspects of biologicals, so we can move away from chemical intensivity to biological and ecologically based. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Appreciate your comments. So I think the last person we have registered is Lori Elliott. If anybody else would like to speak, please put your name in the chat box. Lori?
Hi, I'm Lori Elliott. I'm with Conceptually Resources. I'm probably more like the last lady, serial entrepreneur. I work in developing countries along the value chains. So we work with small producers and in agriculture, and so on and so forth. So I think there are a lot of great comments that were made. I kind of just want to do a summary. I think we need to look at when, the former lady was speaking, the integration is critical. Seeing things as a holistic, integrated, inclusive matter is very important. The premise of any type of farm of the future has to be looking at complex adaptive systems, we've heard people talk about, what if it's urban, what if it's rural, how do you configure this? The underlying methodology and approach is extremely important. Our human ecosystems, our environment, are complex adaptive systems. We cannot design in linear systems, no matter what we've got. We've got too many parts that are too complex. So it really needs to be a living system, living organism. In particular, we have to go the extra length to make sure that marginalized communities, wherever they are included, and they are able to produce enough for themselves in excess to support economic growth and development in their areas. We can no longer disconnect and say, okay, well, someone will get to that. There has to be an intentional design that is part of a resilient, and people talk about sustainability, but that term is often attached to conservation, which is not bad, right? Conservation, sustainability, but the reality is we have human populations that are growing, so we're going to use the land, okay? So we need to look at restorative, regenerative things like permaculture, for example, to restore things that we know can be restored. There are people growing things in the desert that they didn't do 10 years ago. So we really have to expand our understanding. And in some cases, we may just need to start from scratch. I know that sounds horrible, but literally just say, if we were building this from scratch, what we do, and then bring all the pieces that we have into that container so that we can adapt it appropriately. And just the last thing I would say is that as it relates to integration, none of these things will survive if there is not an economic foundation. So you cannot just do technology, you cannot just do whatever and say someone will commercialize it and make it work. Okay, there has to be an intentional design. We see a lot of things in third world countries where there's a lot of great stuff, a lot of great tech, a lot of people have done a lot of stuff, data collection, and the US is responsible for this, USDA also. A lot of research been done on studies, but nothing is commercialized. Okay, so if you cannot have a system that has something that's going to make profit to continue it, that's not normal, okay, for human society. You have to have something that generates something that brings back and restores what was taken out in that process, right? So, so again, hopefully I'm able to put, streams together because I think a lot of great comments have been made. But the key thing, the foundation is it's going to be dynamic, it's going to change. That's just the nature of it, right? So we have to build whatever we're building as a farm of the future is a center of innovation that allows for those adaptations to happen. Okay, and that's my comments.
Thank you, Lori. Appreciate your comments. So the next speaker will be Alex Thomason, followed by Hector Menendez. Alex?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Excellent. Great meeting, and thanks for the opportunity to speak here. Some of my comments will echo those of Dennis Buckmaster and Girish Chowdhary. I'm an agricultural engineer, a professor and department head at Mississippi State University. And I'm going to speak about agricultural autonomy, and I'll try to define that as I go along. But I believe that agricultural autonomy, which fundamentally is the conduct of farm tasks without human involvement, will play a major role in the farm of the future. Agricultural autonomy will not only alleviate the modern shortage of farm labor, but also improve the precision and efficiency of farm operations, as well as increase profitability and reduce environmental risk and soil compaction from large machines. Agricultural autonomy will involve ground-based and aerial robots, as well as multi-robot teams in collaboration. It will require sensing, broadband communications, and big data analytical tools, including artificial intelligence. Semi-autonomous technologies have been available in agriculture for more than a decade. Automatic guidance systems for tractors and harvesters were introduced about 20 years ago. Market adoption has been extremely high because of the obvious benefits, mainly reduced driver fatigue and improved precision that reduces skips and overlaps in the application of inputs. Fully autonomous technologies have been on the market more recently. Commercial off-the-shelf drones have been legal and affordable for about 7 years. Ground-based robots have begun to be commercially available for various agricultural purposes for the last few years. With these products, adoption for consistent farm use is still developing. The fastest adoption of drones in agriculture has really been in research, where crop breeders have begun to consistently use them to collect images that allow measurement of plant height, for example, and apparent health of the plant. These automated measurements enable them to consider many more genotypes than previously possible as they strive to develop crops with higher yield and resilience to biotic and abiotic stresses. Because the expense of the equipment is less of an issue in research, these technologies and techniques for measuring such plant phenotypes can be perfected in the research community and potentially adopted later in production farming. On-farm use of fully autonomous technologies can potentially involve collaborative systems in which, for example, a drone could identify areas of crop stress in a field in real time and direct a ground-based robot to mitigate the problem. A key idea in agricultural autonomy is that farm equipment has grown very large to maximize the efficiency of the human driver. If the human driver is no longer required, the machines themselves can conceivably be much smaller, enabling the possibility of reduced soil compaction from heavy machinery and treatment of individual plants by numerous small robots rather than one large machine. When farm inputs are applied with such precision, the likelihood of over-application of chemicals is drastically reduced. Agricultural autonomy has potential utility in virtually all aspects of farm operations, including soil preparation, planting, weeding, irrigation, pesticide application, and harvesting. It can bring about increases in precision, efficiency, and profitability, and reductions in environmental risk. Agricultural autonomy will be a key piece of the farm of the future. And I'd like to make one last final comment. I noted that Matthew Gregg was talking about, I think, particularly smaller and minority farms. And one of the questions that comes up along the way is, how do smaller farms afford this type of technology? And I think we really have to look at different business models. And that commonly relates to something that's become known as robotics as a service in this type of automated technology. And I'll leave it there. Thanks again for the opportunity.
Thank you, Alex. Thanks for participating. Appreciate your comments. So I think Hector Menendez is next. And then we noticed that Misty Burris joined. Misty was on the agenda earlier to speak. So Misty, if you'd like to speak, we do have time for you after Hector. So Hector?
Hey, good afternoon. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Excellent. So my name is Hector Menendez. I'm from South Dakota State University. I'm located in Rapid City, South Dakota. I'm an assistant professor there and extension specialist in livestock grazing. And so where I'd like to really capture this farm of the future is looking towards the past. Some of you may have read John Wesley Powell's story of West of the 100th Meridian by Wallace Stegner. And so Powell developed, if you don't know, the U.S. Geologic Survey and the ethnological studies in the Smithsonian, and he really had a vision, was inches away. And if you talk to Barry Dunn, he's our president of South Dakota State, he'll recommend this book to you. So he's the one who gave it to me. And Powell was inches away from getting Congress to, instead of using the Jeffersonian system, to use foodscapes. And that would have totally revolutionized how we expanded into the West. Instead of giving someone 160 acres of non-irrigated cropland or land that's closer to the Midwest and prone to a drought, you would have had a 1,500 acre, 2,500 acre ranch. And this would have been totally different. And so I think what the point I'm trying to make here is foodscapes are an interesting idea, but more so, we are fighting deeply embedded mental models, policies, and structures that are causing resistance where we're at now. So in order to understand where we need to go, we need to understand the complexity like Pam was talking about. And I would add that I'm a systems expert, so systems thinking, system dynamics. And we need to understand the potential intended and unintended consequences of these really complex systems. And so in addition to all the technologies and novel things that people mentioned, if we bring this systems approach, then we can really help set up the farm of the future for success to be that dynamic, evolving thing to really achieve those goals that everybody else has mentioned that are important. And so the next thing I'd like to bring is systems. So in a lot of the NIFA and NSF grants, there is the term systems. I think that needs to be more clearly defined to let people know what it is. And a systems approach, again, can help us understand those potential intended and unintended consequences. And then just to wrap up, in addition to that methodology to capture complexity and policy resistance, sustainability is a big deal. And I'm defining sustainability in terms of you start these programs, there's a learning curve, there's an economic time delay for people across a threshold to achieve return on investment after a time. And that's where most managers fail. And so in order to implement these programs and these extension, maybe incentive-based programs, we need to be able to get producers to cross that valley of death, if you will, to both overcome the learning curve, remain adaptive, and continue to adapt and grow. So yeah, I'll stop there, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Hector. Thanks for your comments. I'm glad you had the opportunity to speak today. Misty, would you like to speak? Misty, you might be on mute. Misty, I think you're on mute. Would you like to speak? Maybe she doesn't want to speak. We have gone through our list of people that are here and that wanted to speak. Does anybody else that's listening in? We do have about 45 minutes yet left in the time frame. We said we'd be on board and listening. So if there's anybody else that would like to offer some comments, there's time now. If you put your name in the chat box, we will unmute your microphone and give you the opportunity to speak. Or raise your hand, right? Peter Livingston, thank you, Peter. I think we'll get you unmuted here and give you the opportunity to speak.
Good, thank you, and thank you for holding this panel. I assume you can hear me, yes?
Yes, yes,
very
thank
good.
you.
I have already written out my comments in an email, but instead of sending it to you, I'll just read through them. I agree fully with Archie that the demonstration of projects to producers is key to the success of long-term projects. Without farmer buy-in, the innovative products we would come up with are not of no use really to industry. I would also ask that you include non-land grant universities. Cal Poly is not one of the land grant universities in California, and yet we have probably the second largest college of agriculture in the state, and I think we're probably in the top 10 in the country. So I would hope that you would not exclude us from this grant process. The other thing is we really work a lot with specialty crops. Our acres compared to wheat may not be that large overall, but for the state, our acres are very substantial. So just please don't exclude specialty crops. I think the integration of sensing and treatment is going to be key solution to reduction of chemical inputs, and I'm looking forward to participating on projects that work that way. The other thing is that we need to have investigators on our teams that work in the area of policy. Our agriculture autonomy is a great subject, but in California, we're limited to 2 miles per hour. So if I have an autonomous spray rig out doing 800 acres of almonds, it's going to take a lot of hours, a lot of days to get that orchard sprayed at 2 miles an hour. So we need to make sure that some sort of wording is in there that promotes us to have policy people on our teams. And then I agree again with the speakers on the healthy soils, regenerative use of cover crops and water management. So thank you for the opportunity to comment. And again, I appreciate your event.
Thanks, Peter. Appreciate your comments. So it looks like Surendra will be next. Surendra had some internet issues earlier and is back with us. So if you can, there you go. Thank you, Surendra.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. My name is Surendra Surajdev Maharaj. I am an ag teacher at Booker T. Washington High School in Houston, Texas. And I would also like to make an appeal based on the last speaker, if it's possible that the grant could be extended to high schools who are offering agriculture classes. One of the things I've been noticing here in Houston is that a lot of the curriculum, so I also teach a class in greenhouse operations and management. So a lot of the curriculum that's being offered, at least the ones that are approved, it's dated by about 5 to 6 years out. With the rapid pace in development of technologies in agriculture, this somehow or the other isn't making it into the curriculum. So my background is in agriculture, and I was hired primarily to bring that level of knowledge and integration onto the campus and share it with our students. We have a project concept where we would like to establish a controlled environment agriculture center alongside a community garden that can be integrated with all of the wonderful ideas that was presented by earlier speakers. And if the opportunity exists that we could be a part of this and apply for the grant, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Surendra. Appreciate your perspective. It looks like Susan Duncan is up next. Susan, are you here?
Hi, Deb. Yes, nice to have you all here. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I wanted to comment that I loved all the comments that have already been said, so I won't repeat those. But I think I'm hearing an absence of information or absence of content around security. And that, in my thoughts, that's the addressing of the integration of biological, digital, and cybersecurity in a common thought process. So as we think about the smart farm of the future, if we are not providing our context of security for every data point that comes through, for every system that's being used, and for every output that's being delivered, and that's along the whole system, then we are setting us up for potential loss and as opposed to potential gain. So I think I would suggest that we address the security, both biological, biosecurity, but also cybersecurity and the potential for how those all interface together. I also think that a single location, whether that's a single location within a land grant or a single location across many domains, is going to be challenging to do, but it's almost essential because we have such different land mass, such different soil types, such different terrains that we have to manage, that to do so in one type of location will only navigate so far. And again, reiterating that another absence that I've observed is that we have no speakers coming from some of those major or startup companies addressing any of the technologies that have been working towards this, that are doing so maybe in the absence of the actual biological or agricultural domains that are essential for that knowledge. So maybe they're in the listening mode and they're hearing it, but I'm not hearing those comments myself. So thank you for the time, and I appreciate all the leadership you're doing.
Thank you, Susan, and I really appreciate that comment and that observation. So, so thanks again for sticking with us here. Does anybody else would like to speak? We've still got about a half an hour left. And it still looks like we have 170 people on the meeting here. So there are opportunities to speak yet if you would like to speak. Otherwise, just a reminder, you can always send comments to the email address through the end of the month, through the end of May. And even if you have spoken, it's fine to send comments to the written comments to that email address as well. So.
I might add, Deb, many people are speaking from scripts. And if you want to send those scripts to the email address, that would help out as well.
Great, absolutely. I see Tom Turpin popped up there. Tom, would you like to speak?
Yes. Yeah, I'll speak. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
So the comment was made, if any technology providers are listening quietly. So I would be one of those. I'm in a startup company commercializing a chemical sensor technology, and we are funded by a NIFA grant. And so, and I'm familiar with these large initiatives, which I am very supportive of. My only comment about how it's designed is that as you build this for one, major test bed site, that it has a real collaborative and open system for other users. In other words, you can't sort of lock in every participant that might be not in the know or not available, or frankly, technology's changed so fast nowadays that by the time you put the RFP out, there'll be something new that might be integrated into a test bed kind of environment. So you kind of have to think in the RFP in this very open-ended manner, which will be a challenge, I think, to write into the solicitation. So good luck with that, but you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you, Tom. Good point. Appreciate your input there. So again, I'll just open it up. Does anybody else, if anybody else would like to speak, we have time. We said we'd be here till 4 o'clock Central. So I think we'll be here. There's plenty of time yet. If anybody else would like to speak, either raise your hand or put your name in the chat box, please. Ole, looks like Ole Wendroth would like to speak. Ole?
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. Thanks for having this meeting. I'm Ole Wendroth from the University of Kentucky in Lexington, and I appreciate a lot of aspects that were communicated by all those who chimed in with their comments. I'd like to suggest for the RFP that we need a strong educational paradigm change in order to design the farm of the future. Currently, a lot of our educational curricula are really focused on the traditional kind of agriculture, the science. Of course, that is important that students know about that, but with the technology, now we need to have a change in educational paradigms to integrate the detailed science into the technology that is at a farm. That's one aspect that I would like to encourage you to consider when you design the RFP. The other one is that with a farm of the future, we have a real opportunity to improve food quality and to improve the nation's health. We always think about food security and that we have enough, but here we also have a tremendous opportunity to do something for the nation's health, for improving the quality, to make agriculture not so much a transport of food across the continent, but to have more locally produced foods. That is, I think, what I want to say. I noticed that in the one of the first slides where the experts were listed, who I think who are the main designers of this RFP, there were several scientists included, but I missed a soil scientist there. So I would like to suggest that a soil scientist is included on that panel too. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ole. Very good point. NIFA is trying to hire a soil scientist at the moment, and we will definitely bring them onto the team when they get on board. So your comment is spot on. Thank you. Anybody else? Carlos? Carlos, would you like to speak?
Yes, thanks. Carlos Ochoa with Oregon State University. Very interesting talks and everything. I have a couple of suggestions related to the farm of the future, that it has to go trying to integrate technology and economics and all these things that we've been discussing, but also to recognize a lot of the traditional knowledge, a lot of the indigenous knowledge whether it's in the United States or parts of the world. So in a blend of tradition and contemporary issues in a way that we understand the future better. So I would encourage these call for proposals to recognize that it's not just about technical issues that need to be incorporated here. All those things are very important, artificial intelligence and everything. But beyond that, the social construct is critical for developing transformational knowledge. So a transdisciplinary approach is critical here, but also with the previous person who spoke here, we need to have a paradigm shift in education, but also in technology and particularly in policy and management of land and other natural resources associated to that. So I got encouraged for this RFP to go beyond use the technology aspect that these farms might be associated with. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. Appreciate your comments. The floor is still open. If anybody else would like to speak, there's just around 140 people in the meeting yet, and I'm sure we haven't heard from all of you yet. So we're still listening to comments. If anybody else wants to speak, Katie Van Bellen.
Hi, I'm Katie Van Balen from the University of Kentucky. One thing it was touched on some, and we heard from some of our cattle producers from Nebraska earlier as well. So I just wanted to reiterate I think the importance of developing more technologies for the livestock sector, not only for animals in confinement situations, but also for animals that are in more of an extensive grazing type systems, and how we can develop farms in the future that better integrate multiple sectors of the agriculture industry, whether that be livestock, row crop type systems as we move forward, because I think we find a lot of our producers don't stick to just one species, let alone one area of agriculture. So finding a way to help our producers blend all of the areas of agriculture that they need to be successful while incorporating technology is going to be important.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Katie. Appreciate you speaking up. Anybody else? Would anybody else like to speak? So Dale Monks is asking if we could perhaps reiterate what the next steps will be after the listening session. Kevin, I think you had that on a slide, so maybe I'll turn it over to you.
I'll bring that up. So these are the steps ahead. I don't have dates on there, but we have them roughly in mind. We would like to get, after we get all the input pulled together, interpreted, and included into the RFA, we'll begin the RFA development. The RFA development includes specific items about this program, the Farm of the Future competitive grant program. But we also have to include in that policy issues, guidance to how do you develop an application and those types of things. So we'll be doing that. Hopefully that'll get out in sometime. When did we say, Deb? Sometime in June, maybe July. Published. It'll be published later than that. But we'll be working on that in the coming 2 or 3 months. Publication deadline the publication that'll be made available on grants.gov will be probably in the September timeframe, somewhere in there. And then we do not know yet when the deadline will be for applications. Now that'll be an important date because we won't be able to form the review committee, the review panel, until after we're seeing what kind of proposals are coming in. We try to do our best to match the expertise of the panel with the issues that are being presented to us in the applications. Wrapping all of that up, we'll go through a review process and we'll be determining based on what the panel says for awards. We're obligated, we're required by the law to obligate these funds by the end of September of 2022, but we should be able, we have plenty of time if things flow smoothly, we'll be able to make those awards months ahead of that. So well ahead of that is what our goal is. Sometime in the summer of 2022. Wish I could provide more specific dates on that, but that's all in flux right now.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate that update. And yeah, we hope to release the RFA to the public sometime this fall. Depending on how the summer goes. We're still short on staff and still have other programs to manage this summer, but getting this RFA out will be a priority for us. So look for that this fall.
In terms of these, the lengths of these arrows don't reflect the amount of time they gobble up. Actually, this phase on RFA development and review is a very lengthy process. Besides drafting it, it has to go through a thorough legal and policy review before we can publish it.
Yes. I think, let's see, there might be one other person who was on the list and was not here earlier. Scott, we lost his last name. Katie, can you help me out with the last name?
Edmondson?
Yeah, Scott Edmondson.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Scott Edmondson from the Pacific Northwest National Lab. I would just like to add, in addition to, Carlos mentioned earlier, this including things beyond the techno aspect of improving farms of the future, to include, social aspects, but also to really include the environmental and ecological context of beyond where the boundaries of a farm are typically drawn, right? To integrate the farm into the wider ecosystem and make sure we're looking at, impacts on water quality, nutrient remediation, ecosystem services. A farm as not only producing a single product, but supporting an ecosystem to produce multiple products. And the ultimate product of a farm should be human health. And so looking at it from a context of an ecosystem and how do you make a farm a functioning ecosystem, and maximizing that positive impact. That's kind of my hope for the vision of a farm for a future, not just we get X more bushels of X product per unit, but to look at it more as a holistic, I think the word transdisciplinary or interdisciplinary has been used, but look how farms can really help people thrive sustainably. Thanks for your time and letting me speak.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Scott. Thanks for speaking up. It's a good point you raised. Looks like Margaret Smith would like to speak. Margaret, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Margaret, thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Margaret Smith, I'm an associate dean and at the College of Ag and Life Sciences at Cornell and the director of the Cornell University Ag Experiment Station. It's been fascinating to listen, and what really strikes me is, you know, I had heard the comment early on that this was to be an award to one institution. And, you know, obviously listening to everything that was discussed, the farm of the future is going to be highly variable depending on where it's located, and, you know, the ecology into which it has to fit and the communities and the types of crops that can be grown. So I just would like to put out there that perhaps the real goal has to be developing guiding principles or a roadmap. How do you design farms of the future with these many elements we've talked about that would actually work at different scales and in different agroecologies? So it seems to me like having one farm of the future in one geography with one set of crops would not get us where we really need to go. What we need are principles that would allow you to then use them in other contexts to put these pieces together. So I'm sorry, that's not a very coherent thought, because it just kind of has been emerging in my head as I'm listening, but thank you very much. It's been interesting to listen.
Thank you, Margaret. You raise a good point that we've also discussed within NIFA. So again, we're guided by the authorizing legislation for the program, and we'll have internal review by the Office of General Counsel and all of that as we proceed forward. So we are restricted to what's in the authorizing legislation for this program. Anybody else like to comment? We still have about 20 minutes. Either raise your hand or put your name in the chat would work for us.
I saw that Craig Uden had his hand up at one point, but put it back down. So Craig, if you still want to talk, feel free. Oh, there he is.
Am I on?
You are on. Thank you, Craig.
As a producer out in Midwest, I've found this conversation very fascinating. And I hear about paradigm shift. I think the paradigm shift is happening. I think that's why they farm of the future is being so essential. I think when I look at all the diversity of agriculture that's been on this today, and I understand a lot of that because of my travels and some of my international experience, it'll be very unique to see how this transforms and addresses, because we all have different ideas of what agriculture is, and it means different things to different people. So I think that we as producers always look at how do we attract, or how do we connect with the consumer aspect, but we sometimes have as much diversity within our producers as we do with producers to consumers. So been a very enlightening experience to listen to this today, and the different perspectives. And I do think, as I mentioned earlier, the sustainability and being acceptable to the producer, but being socially responsible, and environmentally responsible, and connecting both producers to producers and also to the consumer world, what is acceptable as far as technology, what's accepting to them, and how adaptable it is to the production side of things. So thank you again. It's been a wonderful experience listening to all the different conversations today.
Thank you, Craig, and thanks again for participating. It's good to hear from producers, so we appreciate it.
Looks like we have Chuck Ross raising his hand.
Okay, great. Chuck, please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. This is my second time speaking, so I'd waited a little bit, but I just wanted to capture the nexus between a number of things I've heard. One is about the need for farms to be recognized as businesses and be profitable. The point I was trying to make about being paid for all their goods and services they produce, that's well beyond the food that they produce on the farm, and the importance of those goods and services to our public and our consumers. And to me, this farm of the future needs to find a way to operationalize that nexus in a way that is rewarding to the farmer and allows the farmer to be paid for the benefits they can generate for the good of the public. To me, that is the farm of the future. That is, in my view, in many ways, the capturing of regenerative agriculture, particularly within the context of the last speaker's comments about the ecology of the farm, and how that needs to be seen as a cohesive unit, where all the goods and services are understood, measured, and therefore recognized and be able to be rewarded.
Great. Thank you, Chuck. Thanks for coming back for round two, and as we wait for people to finish up the session here. So we've got about 15 minutes yet. Anybody else interested in providing input or comments?
See, we still have 128 people on, so should be plenty of thoughts out there.
Assis, I'm not sure how to say your name. Assis Khan, would you like to speak, please? I think you're on mute. There you go.
Yes. Hi, I'm Assis, and I just joined, USDA in Bellsville campus recently. And to be honest, I'm a microbiologist and work with the diarrheal diseases. So that I want to make one point here is that for the farm of the future is that we need to consider also the zoonotic diseases, which is a big issue right now, and including the spread of COVID-19, which is also, seems like start from a zoonotic disease. So I think I wanted to make points that part needs to be included into this proposal because we need to be, the secret, we need to be also careful about the genetic diseases which spread from all these factors.
Thank you. I think you were saying zoonotic diseases, right, need to be part of this. I had a little trouble understanding you. Is that correct?
Yeah, zoonotic diseases, that's right.
Okay, thank you. John?
Yeah, John McMain.
John, please go ahead.
Sorry, John, I may have muted you while trying to unmute you.
Perfect. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
I feel like I'm on a radio show and I'm long-time listener, first-time caller. So I'm John McMain. I'm a faculty assistant professor at South Dakota State University. I agree with many of the comments. I think a lot of good discussion. One comment I would like to make that I'm not sure how it makes it into the RFA, but I see so much great research and science get done and then never leave the confines of the university or the journal that it's published in. And so I just want to stress the need for encouraging buy-in and integrating whatever solutions and technologies developed with the communities that apply them. And so perhaps the RFA would include buy-in from stakeholders, and maybe not just in the state where it's in, but perhaps a regional or national advisory board. And this would be hard to maybe for the state to come up with. So maybe some guidance from NIFA on that, or even some suggestions of who would serve on that. But whatever we define as the farm of the future, it only becomes the farm of the future if there is buy-in by the stakeholders. And so anyway, that's my comment. I think it's very important.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for speaking up, John. I think we have one other person here. Amy Kremen.
Hi there. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I, again, don't want to repeat anything that's been said. This has been a really wonderful and interesting 2 hours or almost 2 hours. I'm the project manager for a USDA NIFA project that's just wrapping up, the Ogallala Water Coordinated Agriculture Project, as well as the manager for a FAR-funded project, Foundation for Food and Agriculture research project called the Irrigation Innovation Consortium. And so as you can imagine from those 2 projects, I'm focused on water. And I've heard some comments about water quality and other things mentioned in this session. And I think that sometimes we think that water issues are maybe defined by states' rights or other things that are kind of within states, but the nature of water and how it is used to support food production and also security on a national level is extremely important. So some comments earlier about goods and services and rewarding farmers for the kinds of, the ways they tie economics and ecological services together. Within that context, elevating the importance of water for the short and long-term profitability and productivity of agriculture and functional landscapes is something that I think is crucial to bring out in a Farm of the Future project. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Appreciate your comments. Looks like there's about 10 minutes left and still have a little over 100 people on board. So still have time to offer some comments if you'd like.
We do have a question in the chat on whether or not a script or recording will be available after the listening session.
I'm going to look to Bill for that. We do have to follow the compliance guidelines. It does take time to transcribe and to make everything compliant to distribute that. I will appreciate Bill's comments there.
We'll do our best on that. It is really a matter of resources, making sure that we have good closed captioning, and we'll be able to present this in a manner that complies with all the rules and regulations that are applicable within USDA and the rest of the federal government.
Yeah, someone had to run off to a composting webinar. That sounds interesting.
We have Hector again.
Yep. So thanks. Figure I might as well before I jump off here. So I think I don't know if anybody mentioned this, but just all the unintended consequences with data. I think that's going to have to be addressed in the RFA for Farms of the Future, and data privacy, data access, who owns that data, how do we ensure data quality. There have been some presentations about animal activist groups creating fake images of animals and verifying that those are fake and for media purposes. So I think this emerging data just creates a lot of problems that we need to be aware of and anticipating for our farmers to ensure that they're having that accurate information or safe information. And then that ties into not discounting the experience and the knowledge that farmers have when developing these data and AI tools. That way, you know, we can develop something in the lab, but practically, does it work on field? And, you know, is that really going to meet producers' needs? And then the last thing I want to mention is modeling. And I think, and someone mentioned this earlier, but open source, well-documented models that can be adapted, because modeling is used and is going to be used to provide these predictive algorithms, will really just help us from having, like John mentioned, these products on a shelf, and they can keep changing and keep evolving, and the quality control can be there because of rigid and strict requirements for model documentation and open source coding to allow people to use those published models and then say, hey, we adopted it in this way, and here's the code on things like GitHub repositories, for example. And so I think that will just help us to, again, maintain sustainability of investments in models and these type of data-driven programs. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Hector. Thanks for coming back for round 2. 5 minutes left here, the way it looks, so.
Need anything else on the PowerPoint slides? Well, as we wrap up, I think I might just chime in and say this has been extremely helpful. This has provided a lot of great guidance that will help move us along. Really looking forward to seeing what kind of written comments we get on the email address as well. So this has been, from my point of view, well worth our time. It's been, I'm really happy with the extensive audience that we had and the amount of people that hung on till the very end. So thank you very much. And we're looking forward to getting this announcement out. Deb, anything else, or Bill? Or Joe?
Yeah. thank all the speakers for speaking up, for providing some input today, and just a final plea to send written comments to that website by the end of the month. I think that'll be very helpful in helping us pull all this together. But really appreciate the participation and the breadth of participants as well. So,
okay, Bill, John, or Joe, anything else?
No, thank you, Kevin. This was great.
I enjoyed it very much. Thank you all. I'm waiting until it hits 4 o'clock Central Time.
Don't want anybody to say we ended early. Didn't give them a chance to talk.
Do you have more than 50 people
Yeah.
on the call?
I'll also thank Katie and Catherine for keeping
Thank
things
you.
going behind the scenes here. Couldn't have done it without your help. So appreciate that.
Yeah, they kept things moving along. So thank you. All right, we got 4 o'clock.